It's Wellness Wednesdays. It's Wellness Wednesdays. And this Wellness Wednesday, we're talking about the politicization of weird. And this, yet another video that's been inspired by private conversations I've had. I've treasured these conversations. And it was the sort of thing that, you know, when you're of two minds of something, you can analyze something from sort of like a messaging and spin angle and go, ooh, that's good. And then from a personal level, you go, but it's not good for me. And that's where I'm at least, with the whole weird attack line that the Democrats are using against Trump and J.D. Vance. And yes, it's politics. It's not going to be deep dive into politics. It's going to be looking at this particular issue because some people do feel very concerned about how this is going to affect tolerance of people who are different. And it's like, okay, fair. So if you like this content, help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/Leanna K. Those donations, very, very important. They keep this channel running. So what the tactic is, this is one of these things where intention, how it's received. The tactic is designed to actually be less bad than some other attack lines. Weird isn't evil. Weird is just weird, right? It's designed to blunt the whole, they just hate us and are coming for our children, things that the conservatives do. Protect your children. We have to fight because they want us destroyed. And so coming in there and going, well, they're just weird. They're weird. It blunts that, right? It's people go, yeah, they're weird, but it's not, it can never be seen as hateful. It can never be seen as anything but just sort of an observation. And I don't think the Democrats expected it to work this well. And that's what's interesting about it. The defensiveness, the fact that Trump's falling all over himself, going, I'm not weird. They were talking about JD, and JD Vance is like, well, I'm not weird. And who cares? The correct answer to that was like Joe Biden embracing the dark Brandon stuff. That is how you meme, right? Like, yep, I'm a weirdo, and you own it. I mean, if JD Vance had made his own couch jokes, that thing would be over. But they didn't. And so it's become this whole thing because people do have pasts where they were bullied for being nothing more than weird. And so there's a very fraught relationship with this whole idea. And that's why I started with the intent was to come in light. It's not, you're a fascist. It's not, you're a racist, sexist, misogynist. The thing Bernie Sanders, every time Bernie Sanders starts talking, he says, and they are racist, sexist, homophobic, misogynistic, he has to rattle them all off. It's the only thing he's added to his stump speech in 30 years. Instead of that, they're trying to make them less scary. So they're just weird. And I think the reason it worked is precisely the reason it's hitting so many people so hard is back during school years, that was all somebody needed to say to get you mocked and dismissed. I mean, I was weird. I leaned into weird, though. I have leaned into weird since the third grade. Grade 3, gifted program. Was that at Daystrom? I think so. Yeah. But I skipped grade 2 to go into third grade. They tested me in grade 1. So I was a year younger and in gifted in a school where they looked to beat up the gifted kids because we were weird, right? And so what, I think it was mostly my idea, a group of us decided to do was lean into the weird so badly that we were terrifying, and the kids left us alone. We'd spend, there are these bleachers behind the school, and we'd hang upside down from the back of the bleachers all recess. And when people came by, what are you doing? That's weird. We'd yell, I can see up your nose. And just do really, really strange things. Collect these little seed pods from trees for no apparent reason, like Gollum in the One Ring. Just do things to be so freaky that we were too weird to beat up. It was a survival tactic. And I think that was sort of life-defining, because you may notice that whenever somebody says, you're this, I'm like, but what if I am? I'll lean into it instead of running away from it, because the minute you start trying to defend yourself from an accusation like weird, you lose, because everybody's a little bit weird. I will say I'm more on board with they're just weird than a great many of the very specific things that they're claiming about Harrison Walls. Again, I'm not going to do a deep dive into it, but the people that try to create a false equivalency between weird and, weak, failure, scary, liberal, they're trying to make her scary, and it's not working. She shows up, it's big smiles, she's laughing. No one's going to be scared by that lady, unless you're a racist. But weird only sticks if it bothers you. And that's what's so brilliant about it as a political tactic. So how can we apply this to our own lives? Well, like I said, lean into it. If somebody calls you something that's a feature, not a bug, it's not gonna stick the same way, right? You ever met one of those guys? They're not as common up here, but you do get some of them where you go like, that's racist. You're right. It's racist. I'm a racist. I'm a proud racist. It's like that didn't have the desired effect, right? You can think what you want about someone that is openly and merrily racist, but that shuts down that line of criticism, doesn't it? And in that case, no, you really don't want to be, associated with racism. But weird? There's no reason not to say, yeah, I'm weird. I mean, I'm proudly weird, personally. I mean, background, right? Whenever somebody makes fun of my background somewhere, it's like, no, you don't understand. I have offered, they're like, don't take away the background. And it's like, who the fuck cares what's in my background? Like, look at all those toys. She should really grow up. Like, fucking why? Why should I grow up? Because your grow up means be boring and challenge people not at all. And fuck that. Now, some people be going, but Leanna, I'm not like you. I can't go fuck that. Everyone can get to the point of fuck that. Everybody can. But it's a question of being secure enough in ourselves to go fuck that. And everybody has different pain points, right? And if we have trauma related to either outright bullying or ostracism based on being weird, easier said than done. And obviously they tried to bully me for being weird. I leaned into it. So I don't have the same negative reaction. I do, I have a lot of empathy for those two boxers at the Olympics who were basically told they were not women, because that was what I got is you're not really a girl. You're not a girl. If you were a girl, what would you think? That kind of shit. And that was, I've had to work through that a lot more. And yeah, I'm like, okay, say they're right. And right. That's why I think this whole non-binary thing, like, let's just settle it and remove that childhood and teenage trauma from the lives of future people. And hopefully that's what this whole weird thing is going to do. Like, just, there's no shame in being weird. So why are you ashamed, Trump and Vance? You know? And the thing is, it is true. JD Vance is almost so normal that he is weird. You know, talk about default on the character screen. If you think guy, basically JD Vance pops into your head. And it's almost like no personalized details at all. It's just like a vanilla avatar. It's like the Twitter egg as a human, you know? It's like, why are you so normal? It's weird. Now, of course, you scratch the surface and he's not normal at all. He there's this performatively normal, and that if somebody picks on, in his case, cat ladies, it's like, oh, that is low hanging fruit, bro. Like, come on. For me, it's when people pick on furries. Furries, as a rule, harm no one, and they bring happiness to people. Now, part of it is I did mascot work, and it was a job, and it was fun. You sweat like so-and-so, but it's fun. It's fun to entertain people. It's not fun to get hit in the back of the head when you're in one of those things, but otherwise, a lot of fun. You just get to be silly and without artifice. And so when people pick on furries, it's like, why? Again, low-hanging fruit. You can't explain why you're picking on furries. You're just picking on furries because you think you can, and you'll get an attaboy from your even stupider buddies. And that's what normal is to me. And the reason I don't, when I work with clients, I don't promise, to help them be normal. When they say, I'm afraid I'm not normal, it's like, you're talking to the wrong person. I know I'm not normal. Here's the thing, right? A lot of normal people are really unhappy because they are so afraid of violating some norm, which is what normal means, that they never individuate, they develop no self-compassion, and they can't self-soothe. That's why they go out and pick on furries and alleged cat ladies. That's just sad. And I think they probably didn't go as sad because Trump ruined that one. It was just an organic thing that Tim Walz said before he was VP. He just went on a news pop and was like, these guys are weird. And I think the fact that it was so authentic to him is part of the reason that it caught on. Because he just was like, said it with the full chest. And they're not bad. They're not, and I, that's why I think he's an effective politician, because he's not saying they're bad. He's not saying they're evil. He's not saying there's anything wrong with them. They're just weird. It's like the Minnesota Nice version of "You have a blessed day." And the thing that's interesting about that is that Tim Walz has no problem himself being weird, right? Being a, football coach and, Army guard and all those manly things. But then he's like, yeah, I'm going to advocate for free tampons for students. And yeah, we're going to make it all students that require tampons. We're not going to get in this bullshit gender war. It's just, if you need tampons, you go ahead. And personally, I think it's better to destigmatize tampons by having them around boys as someone who got bullied for having tampons in my bag in school. Yeah, let's have them everywhere. If guys want to shove them up their nose, that's fine. Demystify them. I think that's good. And pro tip, any of you guys with sisters, take a couple of those home. That shit's expensive. So, also, they apparently staunch bullet wounds. I learned that from a game dev who made a game about mercenaries, and apparently the publisher would not let them put that detail in the game. So there you go. I almost made a really off-color joke there, but that's the thing. Insults only pack the sting you give them. And certain ones just hurt because they drill in on something we already feel bad about. And that can be a really hard one to brush off. For me, being recovering anorexic and having that whole, you're never pretty enough, you're never thin enough when you're unhealthy thin, according to all medical science, and you're still getting called fat, that messes with you, which is why I'm so, no, we do not do this about irrelevant appearance-based attacks on anybody. And I say irrelevant because if somebody starts it, it's totally fine to go, you're no embodiment of perfection either, person taking a cheap shot. Sit down, right? So, or if it's a question of, say, a particular casting decision that does go based on how a character traditionally looks, well, then that's relevant, right? But if it's just a question of, I think government should do more to improve the lives of regular people. Sit down, you ugly fat fuck. That has nothing to do with it, right? And I think that what we can take away from this whole thing that's positive is just that, is that the weird thing was not a big deal until they started getting upset about it. And it's funny because these guys are bullies, but they really don't know how to counter. They can't take what they dish out. And I think that's another reason it's effective. But if it hurts you vicariously to see this whole weird thing, that's why I want you to realize it. I don't think it was intended as something that was like a go for the jugular. It was sort of gosh darn when the person really wanted to say god damn, that kind of thing, or a fudge when the person did not want to say fudge, right? And it just blew up because skin as thin as paper. So is weird inherently an insult? No, I don't think so. I think that you cannot get anywhere in life without being weird, right? Rich people, part of the great thing about being rich is that you can be weird. Elon Musk, weird guy. Peter Thiel, very weird guy. Mark Zuckerberg, remember that SNL skit? Moisten eyes, moisten eyes. It's real easy to be weird when you're fucking rich, which is why I don't know why it upsets them so much. You'd think they'd be like, yeah, I'm weird. I'm good with being weird. It's sort of how in the Kendrick and Drake diss battle, Drake clearly obsessed over every single thing that Kendrick said about him and did an itemized list of retorts, right? Whereas Kendrick was like, whatever. Boom, right back on the diss about Drake. And simple things like, yeah, I'm going to put Whitney in my videos after you fucking took a cheap shot about whether or not she stepped out on the relationship. Like, fuck you. But instead of getting mad, it's just like, yeah, she's here. We good. You know? And often something doesn't become a real sore point until it becomes clear that something bothers somebody, which is why they say don't let it get to you, which is terrible advice. Because if somebody's saying that to you, it's already gotten to you and it's just making you feel like shit about it getting to you. Better advice is don't say anything until you've processed the sting. Because then you can go, yeah, for sure I'm weird. I'm not ashamed to be weird. Weird's good. Normal like question. Normal in a lot of ways is very, very unhealthy. It's normal to go out there and get blind stinking drunk on the weekends instead of making an appointment and maybe getting your mental health checked out. That's normal. It's not healthy. Binge drinking is a little too normal. Drug use is a little too normal because of the, you don't know how that's going to affect you. And a lot of the times people's early experimentation is not done safely. A lot of unhealthy sexual practices are normal. It's the whole Fight Club thing, having the job you hate because it brings in money and living a monotonous existence until you go crazy. That's normal. Is it healthy? Does it make you happy? No. Then why are we pursuing this? Why do we care if you're weird? If politicians weren't weird, SNL would not still be in business. I mean, the only reason anybody watches Saturday Night Live is the whole thing about get Steve Martin to play Tim Wall. Steve Martin is not an impressionist. He's like, no, I don't want to do it. And good for him. Even though I think he would have been great. I respect his respect for that particular skill. And he has the right to say, I don't do that. I do the same thing with certain things. There are certain things that I just don't feel comfortable with. So because I won't be having fun with it, I don't do it. You have the right to not take something to heart. Just because somebody says something about you doesn't mean it's a bad thing. And, I'm saying this as someone who people have said a lot of really shitty, untrue things about me. And the specific ones that are just disprovable, it's like, oh, fuck, really? But it's the petty ones, She's ugly, she's fat, she's a slut, she's a whore, all this. What the fuck? I'd be making a lot more money on OnlyFans. I've seen some of the people that do it. Like, holy shit. It just wouldn't be authentic to me. I'm too, I don't know, all over the place. It's not where my head's at. It's not where I want to do. I did the pinup modeling. I did that stuff. I'd interview porn stars again in a second. But to do it myself, it ain't me. That doesn't mean I'm better than women who do OnlyFans. I don't think I am. It's just different. They're better at it than I am. The same way I could do coding. I'm mediocre to not great at it. So it's better if I work with people who do the coding and I do the stuff I'm good at. But you can be different and not be bad. And I do think that we got to look at the other stuff with the Harris Walls campaign to contextualize the weird. Because, the coconut tree is a meme. The Venn diagrams thing is a meme. The name comma la, like it's a comma and la on the button. I love that, because she couldn't do, the scrawny kid with a funny name thing, because Obama already took that. But every single one of these politicians that have a non-white name has to contend with having a weird name. So I really don't think they thought they'd get so much gold out of weird. But they stumbled onto what Trump and Vance are afraid of. And it's pointless, but they're afraid of it. So don't be afraid of your weird. Treasure your weird. We welcome weird here. Actually, the worst thing you can do here is show up with some bullshit boilerplate, brainless talking points that just, I want to hear from you. I don't want to hear something that I know came out of some sort of playbook, or that you're just repeating without understanding. The people who do these really personal info dumps about very specific details of their own experiences and then apologize at the end, those are my favorite freaking comments. Sometimes I don't read them because I can't pull them apart. They're just lovely, and it made me happy to read it. And someone shared, and it was authentic and honest, and not everybody was going to get it. And that's what makes it amazing. That's what we cultivate here. So don't worry about being weird here. Please share your weird within, legal confines, right? Like, just obey the terms of service and all that stuff, right? But we love weird. I love weird. I'll stand up for furries. I love furries. I'm trying to think of other things that sort of get pejorative, like the whole, what's up, nerds? Like, that's, I guess, okay, skipped grade 1, grade 3 gifted nerd. I own it. And whenever somebody says she's a fake nerd, I don't get that much anymore, I think, just because people have seen my Cuphead and Elden Ring streams. But if people think I'm a fake nerd, I can show you the school photo I'm wearing a dress and like sports socks pulled up to my knees. Yeah, no fashion sense. None at all as a kid. So, yeah, don't worry about being weird. Leave the politics to politicians, but I wanted to provide that context for people's, because, that trauma response is legitimate. And if this isn't enough and you still have apprehensions, that's what our community's for, to talk about this stuff. We actually have like political and non-political channels, so that if people just want support on something, they can go to the mental and physical health channel. If they want to joust on politics, that's what Hot Topics is for. We have that so people can avoid it if they want, because, oh my God, this election cannot be over fast enough. I'm in Canada and we're sick of it. So if you'd like to join our Discord, you do it by supporting this channel, patreon.com/Leanna K. If you want to be a monthly donor, that's super important. Or you can buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who uses but can't afford it, coffee.com/Leanna K. If you want your money specifically to go to the Leanna Cares program as opposed to the video production, then you can sign up for a monthly donation on Coffee as well. There's lots of ways to get your money exactly where you want it to go. And so thanks for watching, and be well.